Okay, let's come to order. Roll call, Joan?
Charles Long,
Here.
Chris Martenson,
Here.
Michael Shaw,
Here.
Priscilla Manuelito,
Here.
Kevin Mitchell.
Here.
Thank you, Joan. We do have a quorum to conduct business. I'd like to call the meeting to order at this time. Yeah. Time. Call to order. 6 o'clock. Okay. Pledge of allegiance and pledge. Okay, board members, we do have one issue. Let's go to number 2.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion we approve the agenda for this evening's special meeting.
Okay, motion's been made by Chris Mortensen to approve the agenda for our meeting this evening. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Miss Manuelito,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Martenson,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. Okay, thank you, board members. We have approved our agenda. And thank you, board members, for being here. I want to thank our staff here for being here, and those in the audience. Kat, thank you for being here. New business, discussion, action on the lobbyist services. Board members. Aldi, Gerald, maybe you can help us here. The questions that were raised last Thursday, were those questions sent out to the individuals?
Yes, they were. Yes, they were.
Do we get answers from everybody?
That we needed? Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Do you want to hear the answers, board members? I don't the ones they had. Okay.
I don't, Mr. President, I guess we've got, the only one that I didn't see earlier today, I could have been wrong, was the answers to the questions with Mr. Balzano.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think we necessarily need to read through this thing, but it gives us an opportunity to, you know, look through this. I don't know if anybody...
This copy right here has answers from Mr. Balzano.
Right, right.
Okay. So have you read through the responses on the questions?
I think, yes, sir, I was reviewing them when Mr. Hyatt forwarded them to us. I think with Mr. Bazzano's answer to the Rio Grande corridor being conflict of interest, I know that he states the different reasoning and ethical obligations, and I still feel uncomfortable because I have seen the voting that happens in Santa Fe, and we do need somebody that won't be biased due to the past where we've always seen our rural areas and our district get outvoted and not supported in different legislations that we have presented. So I understand where he's coming from with this, and you know, having our concerns, I still don't feel 100% sure that his support will be with us.
Okay.
Sir, thank you.
Gushi.
Mr. President?
Yes.
actually felt the same way, and I was going to address the same thing. And because, when I do attend sessions in Santa Fe, it's hard, and I never see the fairness, and I just can't see it happening at this time with him also representing the Rio Grande corridor. And I was going to bring that to your attention as well. So I also agree with Board Member Manuelito.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, board members?
With MJS Consulting, I wasn't too sure about number 2, about the amount that is allocated to their contract. But when I looked at the contract from the previous year, I think I saw that the amount that was allocated, Mr. President, if you could correct me, or if I'm saying it correctly, that some of that was not totally used, and the difference between the 8,000 to 5,900 was not utilized, correct?
The $5,923,
That's how I read
that
it.
was the one that was used.
That's how I read it, Ms.
Yeah.
Manuelito.
Okay.
There was
That was the one that was used.
Okay.
Any other comments?
What I wanted to say to number 2 was, they are allocated $8,000 for expenses, and they did hit the 5,923. I feel that shows that they are very careful with what is spent. They actually watch what's spent, and they're not overspending. So I really feel that with showing this, it shows that their expenses, they do very wisely and knowledgeable, and just showing that they don't exceed it brings great comfort to me.
Okay. Any other comments, board members?
No, I don't.
Mr. President, I just wanted to also say that, as we were saying, that they are lobbyists for the Navajo Nation, and they have, to me, shown that they have built that bridge between the Navajo Nation, and to me, they would probably only strengthen that bridge, working with Gallup McKinley County and having them also with the Navajo Nation. I feel that would be a very strong tie, and in the long run would be very beneficial to Gallup McKinley County schools.
Okay. So is there any other questions or comments? If not, I'd like to ask board members, what is your pleasure?
I would like to make a motion that we give the new lobbying to Fleischer Consulting and Smith Consulting.
Okay. Motions have been made by Mr. Michael Shaw to give the lobbyist contract to Smith and Fleischer. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell?
No.
Ms. Manuelito?
I would also like to say no due to, during our work session, one of the things that I really stress about Mr. Fleischer, and I wanted to say it for the public because I know at that time our work session was not being recorded. And I think it's something that our public and our voters and our constituents need to know before we take this action. And one of the things that really rubbed me the wrong way was during one of the session, the LSC session, meeting that they had at UNM. And Mr. Fleischer approached me when I was attending that meeting, and informed me that there was going to be
We just need an answer on your vote.
there was going to be a lobbyist position opening up, and I didn't understand what he was talking about. So I asked our superintendent, and our superintendent didn't really answer what was my question either. He didn't say there wasn't open. There was nothing out there. And he stated that Mrs. Lundstrom was the one that wanted him to come up to me to introduce himself because of this new lobbyist position being open. And I know that, and since our work session, you know, I did state that
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Flesher
Question.
is also
There was a call for the
lobbyist.
question on the vote. That's how we're.
Hold
we're
on, Board Member Manuelito. Mr. President, Board Member Manuelito has every right to express her concern and to let people know and to make it known for the record why she is voting the way she votes. She needs to be allowed to do that. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry too, because
Well, no,
I gave
Mr.
that opportunity before a motion was made. I said, make comments.
Mr. President, this needs to be down for the record, documented, and it needs to continue. She needs to be allowed to say what she has to say, and therefore it being recorded, it being on record. And that's what this is about. Ms. Manuelito has every right, and she needs to continue. So go ahead and continue.
That's, I mean, yeah, she has a right, but I gave you guys an opportunity before the motion was
There was
made.
no motion at the floor at that time. Now we know what the motion is. Since the motion was made for Mr. Fletcher, I have a right of what I can say about it and how I feel. There was no motion on the floor at the time you asked for comments. And I think the public deserves to know what is going on. And if I can continue, Mr. Fletcher and Mrs. Lundstrom had this arrangement because I didn't know what was going on. And once that happened, it was very uncomfortable because it put us in a predicament that we weren't too sure of and what was going on behind the scenes. I didn't really think much of it, but until we saw it on the agenda, again, there was no work session, no discussion, it was an action item. And I think that's where we need to really evaluate, and we really need to see if there is any kind of unethical happening now. And I would like to request, again, with ourselves here, that we review our ethical and code of conduct among ourselves, because we are treading really on territories where we shouldn't be right now. Mr. Fletcher was Patty Lundstrom's campaign manager, and if this is a you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, or a campaign debt that is being paid, it is very unethical. And I guess we will see by the votes moving forward that something might have arisen with this. So I understand where you guys are coming from, and I also requested during the work session that we have our current lobbyists finish their contract, and then we can review this process due to the legislative session ready to start. And these individuals do not know our Gallup McKinley County and or what it entails that our priorities were in the past, what our current priorities will be. I just feel that we're disservicing our children, and we're not putting their needs ahead. And we're just doing what, as Mr. Mitchell stated before, it seems like we're just hiring a friend. And that is so wrong. And I hope that there is an outcry on this, and I hope individuals, maybe we need to ask for an investigation into this case, because this is, I feel it's very wrong. So my vote, sir, and to my board members is a no.
Thank you.
Mr. Schaaf,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. And thank you, board members. Just want to make a comment. This is not hiring a friend. Now, I think you realize, the two of you, that your campaign expense has been paid by the current lobbyists during the time that you guys were up for recall. They provided money to you. Those are big concerns to me. That's a big conflict of interest. So,
Mr. Long, I was never up for recall, and I never received any money to have them keep me in there from, I want this on the record, I never received money because I was never on the recall to begin with. You really need to know what you're saying and stating before you start accusing Mr. Long, and I really feel that's wrong.
I have information on that.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion and we stop this foolishness and adjourn, please.
Okay, a motion's been made for adjournment by Chris Mortensen. Roll call, Joan.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Manuelito,
Yes.
Mr. Schaaf,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes.
6:14.
6:14, we're adjourned. Thank you.
See you, Chris.